Step number 3. We've got the front of the shirt here with the pocket and the other front. And then we've got our back. Open up our back. And what we've done is we've lined up our side seams and armholes, but most importantly, our shoulders. What we're looking at right now is the right side of the fabric. We're going to do a front seam in the shoulder, and we're also going to do a front seam in the shoulder for the facings, but we're going to start with a stay stitch in the neckline that is 1/8 of an inch away. We're going to do that around. We're just going to do it in 3 sections. That was one side of the neckline in the front. Now we're going to take the other side. And why we're going to go ahead and stitch the neckline is to go ahead and help preserve the shape so it doesn't get too stretched out. So I can extend the thread, but I don't necessarily need to cut it at the moment. Let me go ahead and get this right on the edge of that neckline. Shoulder, armhole, neckline. 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. Pull out our thread, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to stitch the back neckline. Okay? And here's the curved part. We've got shoulder, and we're going to do our neckline, trying not to stretch it out. 1/8 of an inch away from the cut edge. Extend out that thread. Now we can go ahead and cut things. Now I'm going to lay my shirt back the way that it was. I'm going to lay the fronts on here. And now we can see we have stitched our necklines. Front neckline, back neckline. Now we're going to work on lining up the shoulders. And this is the right side of the fabric. Since we're working on making a front seam, we're going to pin this the opposite way that we normally would. We're pinning this now wrong sides together. I'm going to go ahead and pin the shoulder at the high point right here. Line up my shoulder seams. Pin at the low point. And go ahead and pin in the middle. Move this over a little bit more. Okay, let's go ahead and pin the other shoulder. This is the right side of the fabric. Right side of the fabric. We're pinning this the opposite that we would normally do this because this is a front seam. We're going to have a nice enclosed seam after we're finished with the shoulder. Low point. High point. It's okay if it overlaps because we're going to be sewing down here. That's important. If it overlaps here, no problem. Go ahead and pin that in the middle. And we're sewing on the right side of the fabric right now. And this is our front shoulder and our back shoulder, and we're wanting to sew a little teeny bit less than 1/4 of an inch. So put that needle down there, and let's see if that to the edge of the fabric is a little bit less than 1/4 of an inch. What we're going for is about 3/16, so you don't have to trim the shoulder. Let's go forward, do a little back stitch, let's get to the other end, let's do a little back stitch. Whoops, a little bunched up, let's get it to relax. Go ahead and trim. Let's go on to our next shoulder. A little back stitch. Trim our threads nice and close. Looks nice. Trimming our threads at the end of all the front seams. The first step of the front seams. And you've sewn a little bit less than 1/4. It's about 3/16. This is on the right side of the fabric. Now we're going to go to the wrong side of the fabric, where we're going to press the seam on the shoulder. Let's go ahead and press that seam backwards. Doesn't really matter which way, but you're going to have to press it forward or backward. And I just chose back because when we press it here, you'll see that it'll end up being sandwiched. Okay, go ahead and repress that. Let's go to the other shoulder seam. Just go ahead and press that backwards, even though, like I said, you can press it forward or backwards, because now we're going to end up encasing it. We're going to stitch on the wrong side of the fabric in just a second and encase that. Okay, now we have both of our shoulder seams with the first stitch on it. Now we're going to do the second stitch, and from the needle to the edge of the seam should be a little bit more than 1/4 of an inch, a little smidgen more. I'm going to start with a little bit of a back stitch. Back stitch. Looks real nice. Let's go to the next one. a little bit more than 1/4. Looks good. Let's go forward. Little back stitch. Now we're doing the full length of the seam. Let's end this seam with the back stitch. 2 to 3 stitches back and forth. Sometimes mine end up being 4. That's fine. This is the wrong side of the fabric. Here we can see the stitching of the pocket. And here's the right side of the fabric with a really nice looking front seam. On both of the shoulders. That is step number 3A, doing the shoulders. We're going to stop and then go on to step 3B, which is the French seams for the front and back neck facing.